Nigerians have been called upon to defend themselves against the Ruga initiative. I'm Felicity Ezewike, and this is Plus Politics. In response to the ultimatum given to Southern state governors by the coalition of northern groups, the Ooni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, and Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has called on Nigerians across the country to defend themselves and the sanctity of their ancestral lands against usage for Ruga settlement. The big question now is that does this have a potential to create another civil war? Joining me to discuss this is a public affairs analyst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Felicity.
So, Nigerians are being called. You're aware of the story. What's your reaction to comments from people that the Ruga settlement and the comment by the Nobel laureate could be described as a call to arms?
Again, I think we should not over-sensationalize some of these things. Now, let's start from the beginning. The concept of Ruga was not properly explained and taken to the grassroots as much as possible. Right before then, we've seen the escalation of the Fulani, or even the herdsmen. Don't let us use the word Fulani, the herdsmen, ravaging cities, banditry on the rampage all around the country. And we've seen that the reaction of the government, either at the state or the federal level, has been half and in between. So now, from there on, the concept of having to create settlements or ranching for these herdsmen clashing with the farmers came up. The concept was not fully explained to Nigerians. The concept was just brought up, and lo and behold, the next thing we heard was that there's an approval now for building Ruga, and the concept of that Ruga became suspicious. People were not so confident because, looking at it, if you observe in recent time, the ethnic tension has been gradually building up. It's like when the Ruga issue came, it further, inflamed that ethnic tension.
So what about the timing? You're talking about it and how, the information was not maybe properly communicated. Shouldn't the federal government have known better that such information at this time would only heighten the tension in the land?
I guess, really, we think they should have known that. But we've seen a lot of poverty in thinking in respect to some policies taken by the government. We've seen a lot, in fact, because now you observe how the country is. When you're going to push a certain position, you're supposed to have done some stakeholder, briefing and understanding and discussion to see how to best put up the idea or draft the idea for public use. But what has happened recently is that the suspicion has been increased. Now, when people were crying out, when the noise was so much about the concept of Ruga, people didn't understand how it's going to impact on their life, how a certain size of land is going to be taken away from each area. Then what happens to the people that owns the land? Then when this thing came up, government said they are suspending the Ruga settlement. Now, when you are suspending Ruga settlement, how come that some people now in the north will now make noise and say that they are giving ultimatum to federal government? Why would the federal government sit down and be looking at people giving ultimatum to it on what? On the land that they do not possess? They want they are giving ultimatum on a land, on a policy that they don't have the ability to implement, that will even create further ethnic tension when people have been losing lands, people are dying, were being snatched and kidnapped at random. Of course, the timing, if you guys has been withdrawn, the timing of that ultimatum is most unfortunate. I didn't expect government to have picked one or two people up in that regard. So if you then do that, and government is keeping quiet, why will you not blame anybody for saying that, wait a minute, we don't know what might come, be prepared? That is exactly, what those people are saying.
But there's a group of people, the Ijaw Youth Council, for instance, who believes that the more attention we give to that, we should disregard the ultimatum given by a group that nobody had heard anything, that don't have any antecedents, nobody know who they are. That giving attention to these kind of people only help to, heat up the polity unnecessarily. What do you think about that?
Again, let you see, we are in an era of fast information dissemination. If a group can give such ultimatum, and we're not seeing credible group within the northern region or within that enclave where those as well was given, countering and saying that those people are not representing our opinion, they don't represent us, please disregard them. That is very important. The leadership of that part of Nigeria, we have different level of leadership. We have intellectual leadership there. We have the military leadership. We have the northern elders. We also have the traditional rulers within that space where those ultimatum is arising from. We expect at least one of them, whether I you to anybody, to stand up and say, listen, these people are not representing us.
I think that there's been a reaction. The Arewa Consultative Forum Secretary General had argued that they understand the anger of the group of youth from the north that gave that ultimatum, but they've appealed to them to withdraw the ultimatum given to the federal government. Do you think that's enough action from the Arewa Consultative Forum?
What kind of reaction is that? You are appealing to people that are giving ultimatum for people you are appealing to them to withdraw the ultimatum? Then why should that kind of thing be disregarded? What it means in essence, if you want to really look at this discussion, in essence is that they are probably aware of the genesis, origin, and dissemination of this information and ultimatum. Why will you now appeal? Under what condition would those people act? Would they now go ahead and carry guns and start chasing people out of the north? Or would they now invade some part of Nigeria? So why would they, as Arewa Consultative Forum, encourage such divisive ultimatum? Why can't they say that we don't know them? They're not representing us.
You're alluding to the fact that they do know them, but they're saying that they've done something, they've spoken up, and they've asked the young people to withdraw their statement instead of putting fire.
No, it's not asking them to withdraw. What they should have done is to condemn the statement and tell them that they disengage themselves from such statement because of the potential of causing further problem in Nigeria. Now you gave ultimatum. The people here, the youth, the younger ones from other parts of Nigeria will be preparing. The Nobel will be preparing. The Southwest will be preparing. Of course, the Southwest will also be looking and say that, okay, wait a minute. If this is going to be the issue, of course, you remember the Ohanaeze Ndigbo issued a statement and said that, listen, anywhere you are, defend yourself. And
that's across board. Yes. Even the state chapters of CAN have done that.
Anywhere you are, defend yourself. Now, what do you think the proper thing for any youth group, either in the north or even any group within that space where the ultimatum was coming from, is to dissociate themselves from such position and then reaffirm Nigeria unity and tell people to go about their duty peacefully. That the security people are looking at it. Federal government is not making any speech. The leadership of the north in terms of the traditional judges are not making any speech. Even the core Muslim groups are not making any speech regarding this. It's not fair. If you allow this kind of thing to happen, definitely you expect people to rise up and say, listen, we are not going to fold our arms and get killed or slaughtered in our homeland.
There are so many angles to this thing, but I'm being told we're out of time. I want to ask you this question, though, if you can answer in like 30 seconds. The Southern and Middle Belt leaders have raised an alarm. They are alleging that the federal government is they've only suspended the Ruga settlement in order to, go through the back door and repeal the Land Use Act
it will be
so
difficult.
that they can...
If you're going to repeal, I'm not a lawyer, but if you're going to repeal the Land Use Act, that means you have to involve how many states of the federation, at least minimum of 2/3. You have to take it to the National Assembly. You cannot just wake up like an edict and repeal the Land Use Act. It will be very difficult.
Yeah, just like
all of them are just playing to some of those propaganda. That's most likely That likely will not happen, because if it happens, then it's further worsening the ethnic tension and the distrust in the country, and it's not going to help any investor, it's not going to help any economic growth. There will not likely be people who are interested to come and help the country develop. I think that may not happen.
All right, I'm afraid we just have to stop there. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure.
And that's our program tonight. Thank you very much for your time. Do join us again tomorrow for another engaging conversation. My name is Felicity Ezewike.
The federal government has been urged to put in place stricter sanctions against corrupt practices in the country. This was called for as civil society organizations and anti-graft agencies met in Abuja to devise new strategies aimed at improving the war against graft. While they called for more synergy among anti-corruption agencies and pro-transparency organizations, they also want measures put in place to prevent graft.
Even in your house, if you do not agree with the spouse, things will not get done. There has to be an agreement, there has to be an objective, there has to be a focus. Everybody has to understand what the mission is. Now, agencies have different levels of understanding the global objective. Agencies have been found to be bickering over issues, who is going to prosecute what. These things cannot happen individually. What is making people to think that when they commit the act of corruption, they are going to get something at the end of the day? That is number one. Number two, put on very robust detective measures or deterrent measures. Either you detect it when they are doing it within the system, or stop them from continuing to do it while they are doing it. When you punish somebody, you should ensure that that punishment is commensurate to the crime and dissuasive, such that it dissuades him from doing this crime again at the end of the day. Or somebody that sees him suffer that penalty will not say, well, the penalty is light, I'm going to do it again.
Central to the problem that we are facing in the country is lack of accountability and corruption in the country. So the solution is, how do we make sure that all the resources that government is supporting or funding, how are those resources are effectively and efficiently used? And that's why the fight against corruption is a way of actually promoting development in our society, so that the fight around corruption is not just about jailing people or making accusations about people, but we should see it as a development intervention, whereby we want to make sure that those development issues or those development indicators that for which those resources are voted for are actually used for that purpose.